Hello, everyone. Welcome to HMR's A Marvelous Retrospective podcast. I'm your host, Nir Miller. Today, joined by Tyler, the Artistic Anomaly.
What's up, gamers?
And Ben, my brother from another mother.
Whoa.
Unfortunately, due to some circumstances, we're down to fourth member. But that is only for this week. Next week, it'll be business as usual. Lewis will be here, fun. This week, guys, Iron Man. Which I have some stats for you, if you will. So, Iron Man released on May 2nd, 2008, with a runtime of 2 hours and 6 minutes. And reading that, yikes and a half, it felt so much longer than the 2 hours and 6 minutes. Like, I could have sworn it was like 2 hours and 30 minutes.
It is a very tedious movie at some point.
I feel like, especially at the beginning, it kind of drags a bit.
The frightening amount of montages in that movie, it still tends to drag at some point.
It's a very of time, I guess, of the times. Because I know from what I remember the original Spider-Man movie, there was a lot of montages in that too. So this was directed by Jon Favreau, which is interesting because he had a key directorial role. His key directorial roles included Zathura, A Space Adventure. I don't know if any of you remember that.
I love that movie. I love that movie. It's my favorite movie.
And Elf. He directed Elf.
Which did direct Elf.
I don't know,
I forgot.
Why. I don't know what the conversation was about to choose him as a director, but he's a director. But he would also go on to direct the Jungle Book remake and the Lion King remake. So not exactly.
Recently he's had two. I'd say two sort of movies, but he's also directed some really good stuff. He's in charge of the Mandalorian. And he also directed one of my favorite movies,
which is still
Chef.
at some point.
Yeah, I mean, every movie and show has their could be better, but
So I just think he's a good director, but it's an interesting choice for Iron Man for a superhero movie where he before hasn't really directed superhero movies, though Zathura does have some fantastical elements. An actually superhero movie, he didn't really do until before this, and I don't think he even, I don't remember if I think he did go on to direct Iron Man 2, I don't remember for sure. But yeah, it's just an interesting choice. But the budget is $140 million, which is about on par with the times, I think Spider-Man 2 was really expensive, but it's about what I expected. But it made around $585.3 million in the box office, making it the 17th best performing MCU movie of all time and the 8th highest grossing film of 2008, which is crazy, I feel. Because for the times, this was pretty dang good, not considering Spider-Man. For Iron Man, I don't know if you guys know this, but Iron Man was a really obscure character at the time. Super obscure. Where even I say the right here, the production was met with around 30 different writers, and they all passed. Most of them felt that Iron Man was a relatively obscure character.
The Iron Man project as a film, the development it went through multiple different directors, multiple different writers, obviously 30, and it just took forever. The original starting point is all the way back in 1990.
Wait, really? Not
It's
bad.
it's been a long time coming. They were so the writers were really the proposed writers were a bit nervous about working with the untried studio because Marvel Studios was new at the time. They were obviously known for comics, and so they're like, well, they can't make movies like what they just make comic books, you know. But even the rewrites led
That's
to
impossible.
even the rewrites led to many refusals. What I think is interesting though is that Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, he wasn't the first choice. Because Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, was originally offered the role of Tony Stark. Which was, I did not know about until recently. That's crazy. What a different movie this would have been with Hugh Jackman.
Two other casting choices. They weren't necessarily picked by a studio or a director. They were the ones who wanted to star as the role and wanted to make the movie. Tom Cruise and I think Nicolas Cage.
Which, very interesting. Very interesting. Really crazy choice. Not as crazy as like Leonardo DiCaprio as Peter Parker in the original Spider-Man trilogy, but it's interesting choices. But obviously in the end they went for Robert Downey Jr., which wow is he so good in this role. Like even here, even at the beginning, the most interesting character is Tony Stark. He's so great from the beginning. Just it does such a great job of establishing his character. Before we go into that, I have some little Easter eggs for you. So so when you're Rhodey, played by Terrence Howard in this, which I completely forgot that they recast Rhodey. And I'm gonna be real with you, I did not like Terrence Howard's performance in this movie.
I'm gonna be real with you. I liked him more than Don Cheadle.
I
don't like Don Cheadle.
I never took Rhodey seriously in this movie. I didn't. It sounded like he was about to laugh after everything he said, and I just didn't like that. Now I'm actually not aware of the circumstances of Don Cheadle, like Rhodey being recast. Do any of you guys know why?
I know. So the main reason was that because Iron Man did so successfully, and they wanted Terrence Howard back for Iron Man 2 as a much larger character, obviously to be War Machine.
Iron Man 3, I think. Iron Man 3 is War Machine.
He wanted Iron Man 2 and 3.
Is War Machine in Iron Man 2?
Yes.
Oh.
He is the major plot point. All right, we'll get to that in 2 weeks.
Okay, I forgot about that.
But so when going in for Iron Man 2, they offered him a larger paycheck than what he had before, but he wanted an even larger amount, and so they could afford that with the budget they had. So
I remember. That makes sense. I remember that was at the time there were some things that were said about that. I don't want to go. I'm not going to go into detail, but that was pretty controversial. The choice to recast, but I didn't really like Rhodey in this movie. But there's a point in the movie where he looks at the Mark II armor and he's like, "Next time, baby," and that's obviously hinting at War Machine. An early draft of the script had the Mandarin appear in the film, reimagined as an Indonesian terrorist. And speaking to the Mandarin, so there are references to the Mandarin, like the organization who kidnapped Stark is called the Ten Rings. And the Commandment Raza speaks of Genghis Khan in Asia. Raza is occasionally seen fiddling with an ornate gold ring, which rings worn by Stark, Stain, Rhodes, and Raza.
Yes.
The positions of power, if you will. So, also, according to Jon Favreau, it was difficult to find a proper opponent for Iron Man to face, since he wanted the film to remain grounded in reality as much as possible. It decided to have a foe in the film who would serve as a parallel of Stark, For example, an armored opponent. Well-known enemies like the Titanium Man and the Crimson Dynamo were considered, but finally, the lesser-known Ironmonger, Obadiah Stane, was chosen as Iron Man's adversary. Stane, as well as possessing his own armor, is also a business contemporary of Stark.
The reason why is because when part of the reason why they decided to make Stane a larger part of the narrative, rather than just being another side character, is that when I'm forgetting his name, the actor that played him, I'm forgetting his name right now.
Jeff Bridges?
Bridges, yes, thank you. When Jeff Bridges came out on set as Obadiah Stane, he really controlled the character very well, and they liked what he was doing with it, and so they wanted to bring him more into the action.
Which, we're gonna go on this later, but really good choice. So, at the end of the movie, or not near the end of the movie, Tony Stark's presented with the cover story from Shield, Agent Coulson, is that Iron Man just employed Tony Stark, is employed by Tony Stark as bodyguard and all that, and Tony's like, seems pretty flimsy. In the comics, the up until 2002, that's the cover story that Tony Stark used to protect his identity, and I just that Easter egg right there. I smiled so hard when we got to that point. I was like, they drew some phone. Like there's a lot of just references to the comics in this, and the MCU in general is really good at this, just paying homage to the comics, and more just the comics. Like we can hear the 1966 Iron Man animated series theme several times in the movie, notably as the background music in the casino and as Rhodey's ringtone. It says, Tony Stark makes you feel he's a cool exec with the heart of steel. And I heard that in that movie, the tone. I was just like, bro, they did it, dude. It's so cool. Just speaking of the, going back to the MCU, there's a lot of big hints at the larger cinematic universe. Like, on Tony Stark's workbench, we see the Captain America's prototype. The Captain America's shield prototype, which, wow, that's crazy that they're planting the seeds even from here. In the scene of the Jets attacking Iron Man while he takes flight for the first time in his red suit, the names of the Jets are Whiplash 1 and 2, which is not the classic Iron Man villain. And a little musical Easter egg for you. Obadiah Stane plays on the piano a musical piece written by 18th century composer Antonio Salieri. Salieri is best known as a jealous rival of Mozart, and was said to have murdered Mozart, though it's historical things, that's proven false, but it's just, it's an interesting parallel through Stark and Stane's relationship of the film. That's all the Easter eggs I have for you guys. Okay, let's talk about overall thoughts. What do we think?
I thought the movie was, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it a lot. It's not my favorite, but it was very enjoyable to watch it again after a while of not seeing it.
Where are you, Tyler?
I think, it's a solid movie. It's got its flaws. It's a little too long for my taste. But, all around, it's solid choice. But not the best, though. Not the best.
Well, I mean, that's I'm gonna look at this as a for the time thing. For the time, holy cow, this movie was phenomenal. It's so good. It does a mighty fine job of just setting up the universe, without it being ham-fisted, for lack of better words. Because this movie very well could fail, and so if it did fail with all the MCU planning, it wouldn't have, going back to see the movie, I don't think it would feel like, oh, look at them fishing for a sequel and all that. No, it's very respectful. It's very yeah, we're based on obviously the comics, and it plays a respectful homage while make its own spin to things because I don't, have any of you guys read some of the older Iron Man comics?
Oh, I'm not much of a Marvel comics reader.
Okay,
I'm not much of a comic reader
damn, I
at
guess I'm
all.
the sole survivor. A lot of the older Iron Man comics. Okay, going into Iron Man was was a B to C tier superhero. All the big Marvel superheroes were like Spider-Man, X-Men, uh, Fantastic Four, all of those, and going into establishing the MCU, all the superheroes, boom, gone. They can't use them. So they're looking at their catalog of superheroes, and they land on Iron Man, which, like I said, for the time, that was a bold decision because Iron Man just wasn't a popular superhero as he is now. He's just not, and he was so different in the comics. Tony Stark was portrayed so differently in the comics than he's portrayed by Robert Downey Jr., which I, as a long time Marvel fan, okay, reading the comics since I learned how to read, it's Tony Stark was not very likable, in and he never went through the arc that he did in this movie. He's very much like he's just an a-hole all around. Where nowadays, if you go and read the more like let's say Ultimate run of Iron Man, or like leading up to Civil War, holy cow! Robert Downey Jr. the way he portrayed Tony Stark has molded the character of Tony Stark in the comics, and that's crazy. The MCU had such huge impact on had such a huge impact on the comics. It's just I didn't really stop to think how much he changed since the Iron Man movie, but he did, which I've got to applaud. I applaud Marvel. It's holy cow, this movie for the time so good. Nowadays, looking on it, like I said, it dragged. It 100% dragged, especially the beginning. It took a bit for me to actually get into the movie. Where like there's a point where like I got up to go to the bathroom, and I saw I still had like an hour and 30 minutes left, and I was like, oh my, jeez. Yeah, it definitely drags, but there's a lot that I'm just a huge fan of, like Obadiah Stane. We're gonna discuss this later when we discuss the villain, but I have some opinions, and whew. And do we have any other thoughts that we want to add?
Not really. Not until after we talk about the plot and stuff.
Okay, it's plot time. So we open up with some military Humvees. They're driving across Afghanistan, and one of them we see the billionaire weapons developer Tony Stark. He's running with his soldiers. He's just a hoot and a half right here, for lack of better words. He's being flamboyant, he's like, he's just being a jerk. It's like, oh, I didn't even know you were a girl. Or a woman.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's just like
automatically showing his colors as
like history won't
a very
look kindly
cocky,
on you, Tony
unlikable.
Stark. That line did not age well at all. But yeah, and then suddenly, boom! They're ambushed, alright? And the terrorists or whatever come in, they're like, and then Tony Stark, boom! He's blowing a missile lands, and boom! It blows up. A Stark Industries logo is on it. It's like, oh no, that's me! And then boom, he's penetrated by shrapnel, which I was confused for at first. Because he got penetrated, and then, he tears open his shirt. And you see the body armor? And it does not look like it penetrated the body armor. I was really confused. I was like, wait, is he... I know he's not fine, but, like, that he looks fine. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly. It's
yeah,
a weird thing.
I don't... Yeah, it's weird. But, 36 hours earlier, Las Vegas. Tony Stark, he's about to receive the Apogee Award in Las Vegas. So it documents Tony Stark's life, which is a really good job establishing who Tony Stark is and all of that. Yada yada yada. He's the son of a legendary weapons developer, Howard Stark. We see a bunch of of magazines, like little covers, and they look cool. I would like to display these magazines. So, parents killed in a car accident, graduated in 1917, all that. And, so James Rhodes, Rhodey, he prepares to present Tony, Tony the award, but he's not there, So Obadiah Stane comes up and he's like, yeah, Tony Stark, he's busy and all that, working. And, and we see Tony Stark in the casino, just showing off that he does not care about all this. He's just gambling,
So immediately within like the first 5 minutes of the movie, they've shown Tony Stark's character in three three different lights. One, he doesn't care about the common people. He says, and I quote, "Peace makes me out of a job," because he's a weapons
Yep.
dealer, and so as long as war is going on, he's happy. He does not care even about his friends. He leaves his best friend Rhodey up at the podium when he's about to give him an award. And we also just see that he's kind of an a-hole. Just in general, he insults people. He makes fun of them for no reason other than for his own benefit.
So, and then he's interviewed by, it comes up by I think, what's the girl's name? The reporter? It's like Christine something.
Steve?
Yeah. She's I don't I remember actually I don't remember if she's a character in the comics. But she comes up to Stark with some ethics conversations like, oh, what interview questions, like a journalist. I know what that feels like. So Tony Stark, he deflects requests for some quiffs, and the two end up they go to Tony Stark's house and they just do it. All right, right off the which good for establishing that Tony Stark is a womanizer, but I feel like was really out of character for this Christine person who was just really like, it felt like she really did not like Tony Stark, and just to have them,
Weird scene.
yeah, weird scene. But the next, but it does set up a pretty good moment for Pepper Potts. So Christine's awakened by a voice. It's Jarvis, who is voiced by, I think, Paul Bettany. So Christian leaves the house, and Pepper comes, and so he gets interviewed by this character, by Christine, who approaches Stark with some questions, and like Tony Stark deflects it, and he's like all quipping, he's all he's all very suave, and they go home and they just do it, all right, which really odd choice. It's good for setting up that he's a womanizer and all of that, but really odd for Christine's character. I just felt like I felt like she really did not like this dude, and just to have him, yeah, it was really odd. But it does set up a good scene for Pepper where she comes in, and they talk, and she's just that Christine's just roasting her, and then Pepper's like, oh yeah, my job's to take out the trash. It's like, oh, she got her, get it, because she's the trash. So yeah, they go, and then Rhodey comes in. Well, no, Tony Stark, comes in. They talk a bit. The plane awaits, and Tony Stark's like, yo, the plane's supposed to wait for me, not or yeah, not the other way around, and then Rhodey's on there. He's like, bro, Tony, what are you doing? All right, you're just being a jerk. All right, you're lame. And then they get drunk, and then they're learning up flight attendants being really rude and all that. It's the usual. And then we finally arrive at Afghanistan, and he's demonstrating the Jericho missile, and it's like, oh, yo, bah! And, they get a phone call from Obadiah. There's a cool scene where he's like, Tony Stark's just being cool. And Tony Stark gets a phone call from Obadiah. They're pleased with the demonstration, and then, he refuses to ride with Rhodey, which, again, he's just being a jerk to Rhodey, which, it's so uncalled for. But, so he's like, no, I'm not gonna ride with the I want to ride with the fun V, he's just calling Rhodey boring, And so, boom, we get to the point of the beginning where it blows up, and he regains consciousness in a cave, alright? And he sees this little thing on his chest, like, oh, what is this? And then, so he meets Yinsen, he's like, hey, I saved you, So this electromagnet is attached to this car battery. And then, the terrorists come in, and they're like, insert terrorist language here, and Yinsen translates, like, oh, they want him to build a missile, and Tony's like, over my dead body. And they're like, haha, you're gonna do it. And so eventually he just starts to then he's like, you know what, I'm gonna build his armor. But first, I gotta build this, what's it called? In a mini arc reactor. He built up a mini arc reactor. And so, and Yinsen's like, oh, wow, that can power, Tony Stark's heart for 50 lifetimes. And Tony Stark's like, or something much bigger for 15 minutes. And boom, they're gonna make the armor, alright? And so Tony has a change of heart because they have a conversation, some bonding, like, oh, family, So, Tony Stark's, you know what, I like this guy. And so they build the armor. But then there's a scene where, which was really scary because, Raza comes in. Is it Raza or Reza?
I think it's Raza.
So, Raza comes in, and he's trying to torture Yinsen, including almost having him eat this piece of charcoal, which is crazy. I was like, bro, what the heck? That was crazy.
Yeah, he's trying. The idea is that he was burning his tongue.
Yeah. But that doesn't happen. Tony Stark's like, oh, please just save him. Raza gives him one more day. Then boom, they build the suit. All right, but to get it to power up, it takes some time, and so Yinsen he distracts him, and so Yinsen distracts but he gets mortally. Tony Stark, boom, he blasts out. He boom, 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 muscling through the cave. And the guards try to stop him, but, he deflects the weapon. He's just a tank. And so Yinsen sacrificed himself, and he's like, my family is actually dead. And you'll see him now after that. And Tony Stark's like, no. A really big moment for Tony. I like Yinsen, but this is a really big moment for Tony. I liked this moment where Tony Stark, he realizes that, oh, crap, I'm kind of a ding-dong. And so, boom, he kills the terrorists. And he tries to fly, and he crashes in the desert. But a helicopter comes and saves him. Woo, he's back. But he's clearly just not all there. He's like, bro, give me he's like, so he wants two things: an American cheeseburger and a company press conference. So Tony, he appears before a group, and we can tell that he's humbled and he's no longer arrogant and all of that. And he's like, you know what? He's shutting down Stark Industries' weapon manufacturing division, and no more weapons. All right, which is like, whoa, okay, Tony, interesting. And Obadiah Stane clearly not happy. He's like, this dude's he's out of it. Until later, Pepper, during that, Pepper's, he's approached by Phil Coulson from the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistic Division, which they keep making jokes about how long that is, and I love it every time. It never gets old. So they want to talk about Tony for the capture, and Pepper's like, all right, I'll schedule an appointment. So Obadiah, he is not happy. All right, he confronts Tony Stark, and he's like, bro, what'd you do? We make all our money on this. All right, I make all my money on this. You're just And then, Tony Stark's like, you know what? We need to move forward with arc reactor technology. Arc reactor. The future is arc reactor. Obadiah thinks the arc reactor is something about publicity stunt, yada, yada, yada. Obadiah clearly has other intentions. But Tony Stark ends up revealing his Mark One chess piece to Obadiah, but refuses to allow the device to be studied for production. Shane convinces Tony to lie low for a while, so the company can they sort things out. But so Pepper's watching some scathing news segments, which I didn't like the news segments. I didn't like this. I really didn't like this, to be honest. But she comes down, and there's this cute scene between Tony Stark and Pepper, of like, hey, you know what? Fix my arc thing. I'm replacing it, and you gotta dig in my chest. And it made me cringe, but it was a good scene. It was.
Yeah, you said it was cute. I say it was insanely disturbing to watch.
It was disturbing to watch, but it was there's some cute bantering in them. Like,
my favorite scene.
I was definitely cringing, and it was hard to watch, but I did like the interaction between Pepper and Tony, where she accidentally yanks out the cord, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm having cardiac arrest," and then they complete the process in time. Tony tells Pepper to destroy the old model since he's not a sentimental person. BS, which we find out later, but so now we cut to Tony.
It's almost like she caused him to have a literal change of heart.
Yeah, which I respect. I respect Tony a little bit more. But he visits Rhodes and he asks for help, and Rhodes like, nah, fam, I'm not even gonna listen to you. Another scene of Rhodey that I just didn't like. I didn't like that Rhodey was just being a jerk. Which, yeah, Tony Stark was being a jerk before, but just hear him out, man. Just hear him out. All right. Yeah. But Tony Stark, he turns to Jarvis for help, where he wants to upgrade his armored suit into the Iron Man suit. So he's studying the CGI image of the Mark One, discards components. He's streamlined design. It's just more skinny form fit look. So he wants to. So I'm just gonna cut through. He's just testing out the fight and stuff. We get a montage type thing, Yeah. So, and this, okay, I meant to mention this at the beginning. I really did not like the soundtrack in this movie.
A lot of people didn't like the soundtrack in this movie. It's
from
one of the
licensed soundtrack. From the licensed soundtrack, starting with Back in Black to just the score in general, I'm just not a fan of. I'm just.
The score was all right in my opinion. There's nothing bad about it, but nothing too outstanding either.
It's not like it's a genuinely terrible score. It's just what it does, and I've heard this criticism before, is that it sets up the MCU for no opportunity to have a moment like in let's say each movie had their own specific musical theme,
Mm-hmm.
and that the music didn't change every single time, which is the case sadly.
Yeah.
Let's say each character had their own theme, and then in the Avengers, Alan Silvestri, the guy who composed the score for the Avengers, took each of those individual, took each of those individual themes and sort of made it a giant sort of Avengers multi-track situation. It just sort of sets up the MCU for failure in that regard. Although, of course, it's still it's not like a bad thing. It's just generally disappointing for people who enjoy listening to very complex musical scores and stuff like that for Star Wars or The Lord of the Rings.
I wasn't. It's just not memorable to me. The soundtrack with the score. I literally cannot hum any of the tunes from this movie. None of them. And I just rewatched it last night. I watched it 2 times this week, and the music is just
very ambient.
Yeah, it's very even the score. It tries to this rocky atmosphere, not rocky, but just rock. Atmosphere.
Heavy metal.
Yeah, and I didn't like that. It's just, one, it's not my music, but two, I feel like it's just it just doesn't blend. So yeah, and then so later we go to like Pepper comes in and she leaves a box on Tony's gift. He leaves a box on the desk. Where it's like, oh, like, oh, we don't know what it is. And so we cut, like, Obadiah's visiting Tony, and he's revealing that the board of directors, he's filed an injunction to gain control of the Stark Industries. And Tony isn't worried, he maintains controlling interest in Stark Industries. And so, but Tony Stark perfects the fight system. So the Mark II, it's finished, alright? It's smooth and sleek and sexy, alright? And Jarvis is like, yo, it's not ready for flight, but Tony Stark's like, you know what? Let's fly. And so they fly. We get a scene of them flying. It's all this crazy stuff. And so he lands through the floor of his house once it's all finished. He crashes some cars. It's a funny scene. He opens the box and it's like it's inside a Mark I arc reactor. It's encased as a trophy with a message, proof that Tony Stark has a heart. It's like, oh, it's cute. It's like, oh. It's cute, all right. I smiled. So Tony Stark he's just analyzing more data. Like working on Mark III, and that's where we get the signature red paint, and it looks sleek, all right. And so he leaves, and then he goes to this dinner, and he wasn't invited to this dinner, all right. And so but he's like, I'm gonna go to this dinner, and so it's a charity event. Tony meets with Agent Coulson. He still wants to learn, but Tony Stark's just like, no, I'm gonna dance with Pepper. And so they Kristen comes up and she's like, she confronts him. She's like, yo, I thought you had everything under control. And he's like, oh no, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah. So pretty much Tony Stark's missiles and stuff. It's all the way over. It's in Gulmere, Yinsen's home village, and Tony Stark's like, hold up. So he confronts Obadiah, and he's like, haha, I followed the injunction. It was me, Dio. Obadiah calls himself an ironmonger. Haha, I get it. And he has no qualms about selling Stark Industries weapons to both sides of the conflict. And Tony Stark's like, I'm mad. And so he flies off to Gulmere, and just like, boom, he kills everyone. All right, all these terrorists, like, he just finishes them off. He leaves one of the dudes who's like important. I think he's like Ross's chief lieutenant. I don't remember if he has a name or whatever. But he leaves him defenseless for the villagers to beat him up. We don't see it, but they beat him up. All right. And so, he wants to find his weapons. He arrives at the CENTCOM at Air Force Base, and they, boom, they're flying at him. And so one of them ends up like crashing, but they do parachutes, whatever. And so like Tony Stark convinces Ray to pass off as a training exercise. And so Tony Stark comes back home. He's catching up with the robotic system. He's removing his suit, and Pepper's like, "What is this?" And so Stain pays a visit to the Ten Rings camp, and he paid the organization to capture and kill Tony, but they realize who Tony was. They all this stuff like. He whips up a device that causes temporary paralysis, which I don't know how it works, but it seems cool. And so he takes Storm into the Mark I armor. Oh no, what are they gonna do? And Tony Stark tries to talk Pepper into helping. Now we're in back to Tony's place, and Pepper he tries to get Pepper to help, but she's like no. But then he convinces her, and she goes to Obadiah's office with a flash device, and he comes in with this really scary scene, this back and forth. Where, she finds a video proving that Obadiah was responsible, but Obadiah comes in, and it's just weird, like, cat and mouse, and I'm like, holy, I felt it. It was scary. Again, just Jeff Bridges really good in the role. So, Obadiah, he meets with the, when she goes out, he realizes that what she was up to, so, Pepper sees Coulson, she's like, come on, our interview time. And so, Obadiah, he meets with this team and developers, they're working through his own armored suit based on the Mark I. They have to rebuild the components, but they cannot miniaturize, They can't find out how to miniaturize Tony Stark's reactor, and Stain's furious, and he's like, Tony! He has the scene, he's ranting at this scientist, and, Obadiah realizes that he has another option, where he goes to Tony's house, he paralyzes him with the thing, and he yoinks the Mark I chest, the Mark II chest piece. It's, again, really scary. And so, you know, so, oh no, Tony Stark, he's dying, and he's like, oh crap, the arc reactor, uh, um, the Mark 1 arc reactor is gonna have to be enough. So he staggers down, and he nearly dies. Uh, but the dummy hands it to him. Tony gets the reactor installed just as Rhodey arrives, and Rhodey's like, oh, agents have gone to arrest Obadiah, but Tony Stark, he knows that. All right, you know what? That's not enough. So Rhodey washes Tony's suit up, offs like the Iron Man armor, and this is when we get the next timeline, and so we get this super freaky scene. One of my favorite scenes of the movie with Pepper, Coulson, and other agents. They're arriving at Obadiah's facility. They spot the Mark 1 armor, and it's like, oh, nothing. But they spot this area where we know armor is supposed to be, but there's not armor. Then Pepper turns this dark area, and the eyes light up, and I'm like, holy crap, this is cool, unironically freaking awesome. This scene, everything with Ironmonger suited up was so cool.
No, Ethan, I disagree.
Really?
I thought it was goofy as hell.
No,
This
bro.
is my least favorite part of the movie.
What? Really? This was frightening.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was so scary to have those lights light up in the dark and having like Pepper have to run. The design of the Ironmonger suit is just cool. Like,
I don't think so. I think it looks goofy as hell, and I could not get any frightening thing out of it.
bro, it's just a beast. It's so like just large and menacing, bro.
Yes, and
I'm sorry. It looks so cool. I like it a lot. Um, continuing along though. So we just Tony Stark he flies the fight scene where oh crap the older chest piece wasn't designed to power the Mark III during sustained flight. It's like he flies Obadiah up to the upper atmosphere, and he's like, oh, how do you solve the icing problem? And Obadiah's like, what? And so they fall back. And we just get a really cool fight scene. So Stain ends up just dying. Stark's original mini arc reactor, it sparks back to life. So Tony survives, but
that's all only after we get the very first MCU magical blue beam into the sky.
yeah, which
I will be counting the blue beams in the sky for
are you gonna rank them?
the entirety of this series. No, I'm just gonna count them.
All right. So yeah, we even do get this blue beam in the sky. So Stain's dead, Tony Stark's alive, and so there's a press conference with two robots. Tony Stark's like, he's like it's just what's happening. We get a scene with the Pepper thinks Coulson. She thinks Coulson, but can't remember the full name of the group. And Coulson's like, it's S.H.I.E.L.D. They'll be in touch again. Damn right they'll be in touch. But this is press conference, and he has the lines he has to do, and he looks at them. And he's like, nah, I am Iron Man. Boom! Cut to credits. Really cool ending. I like this a lot. The press obviously goes in a frenzy. It's like the post-credit scene. Nick Fury comes in, and he's like, yo, it's Avengers time. Boom. The movie's over. That is 2008 Iron Man in a nutshell.
It was actually, they filmed two different post-credit scenes with Samuel L. Jackson. It was a skeleton crew for the days that they did that so they could keep it quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But rumors still spread just before the movie release. But so the alternate post-credit scene, instead of Nick Fury talking about I'd like to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative, he instead said something along the lines of radioactive spiders.
Yeah, no, he had radioactive spiders and mutants.
And now this.
Yeah,
obviously referencing Spider-Man and the
X-Men.
X-Men,
Yep.
but they were not able to get the rights to include them in the MCU.
Yeah, which
Uh,
it's a shame.
Obviously, up until recently.
Yeah. But it's still cool just the seeds are being planted. That's the plot Iron Man. Uh, I just I'm sorry. I really liked Obadiah Stane in this. I know Tyler doesn't agree, but holy cow, he was just so scary in this movie. Like just Ironmonger in general was frightening.
I
What do you
like
think?
Obadiah Stane. I like him, except in the final half. In my opinion, the first half of this movie is really good,
Okay,
but the
no,
second
okay,
half
so no, that's
drags
where
on to
I
hell.
agree with you. I 100% agree with you. The third this movie suffers from the third act syndrome.
Not
Um,
even third act. The
no,
whole
no,
half.
it's I feel like it's the third act where it's like suddenly it's like, oh, you know what? It's boom, we get robot Jeff Bridges syndrome. Um,
You got that from the Cosmonaut Variety Hour, you piece of shit.
it's very true though. I feel like a lot of the future movies suffer from. We're talking about this later, but the third acts in these movies aren't good at all. I'm not a fan. This movie does suffer from robot Jeff Bridges syndrome, where it's suddenly it's the first and second act I feel like are really strong, but then suddenly we get to near the end where it's like the fight scene itself just isn't really good. We don't get a lot of backstory, or we don't really understand why Jeff Bridges is a villain, other than like, haha, I'm a bad guy. Um, it's very poorly done. Where the first bits of the movie really strong, but the last parts I just wasn't in for at all. Like I like the design of the Ironmonger suit. I like the reveal of the Ironmonger suit, but I don't. I feel like it just wasn't properly built up towards. It wasn't. Um. Um. Yeah. Uh. I feel like in the third act, Obadiah was a stain on the overall movie.
Oh, wow. Right. This is an awful
All
joke.
in favor to hold a mutiny and kick Ethan off the hosting position. Say
Yeah,
Oh.
aye.
that was genuinely awful fun. But I support. I agree. He's um, Bridges' performance at the beginning of the movie is very good. I'd even
Mhm.
say his performance just as Obadiah throughout
No,
the
a hundred
entire
percent.
movie
Yeah.
um, was very good. Although the writing near the end with just the way
He was just
it,
bad.
it
All right, he
didn't
was
really fit
bad,
well. Yeah,
and I didn't like that. He was very.
yeah.
He had a lot of charisma early on. I liked his interaction with Tony. I liked it a lot, but then some like I get the end where it's just like Tony, and he's just a villain. I feel like he's a villain for the sake of being a villain. Um,
Also, why in the hell at the end did he just go on a rampage? Attacking random
yeah,
cars,
100%. He
destroying
did
private
just.
property.
That's completely not what he was going for. He wanted Tony. I him
He,
just
he just wanted to
he
kill
did, yeah,
Tony
no, hundred
Stark, not
percent.
this random
He
family.
went on the rampage. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Um, I wasn't clear with my opinions on Obadiah before. I really like the design of the Ironmonger suit. I like the reveal, but holy crap, is this just not used well in this movie? And I don't
I
like that. I just not a fan. I don't like the fight scene at all.
will say so. This movie does do something that I would say is very different from the popular sort of trope for comic book villains at the time, especially in that span of years. With like The Dark Knight coming out later that year, but it doesn't really suffer from this issue. But like Spider-Man 3 and
Oh, don't
uh,
I think Spider-Man 3 was
What
after
the
this, wasn't it?
No, Spider-Man 3 was 2007,
Was it?
and so was the third X-Men movie. Um,
Yeah, it was
but so
2007.
so
Damn.
the
I searched
thing that I'd
Spider-Man 3
say
release date and Spider-Man
this
Homecoming
movie
release date came out.
decided movie did compared to like those other films at the time that obviously didn't do so well. The third X-Men movie was not very popular, and Spider-Man 3 is not necessarily looked on very kindly. Is that those films, and this also goes for other not well-doing superhero movies at the time, like Batman and Robin. Um,
And these movies did
is
fairly
that
well,
it?
but they weren't good. X-Men.
Yes. Is that it decided to focus on one villain at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So the
100%.
first act is all about like Raza and the Ten Rings, but the rest of the film is about Obadiah Stane.
Yeah. As I wish they focused on
Whereas
one thing or the other.
whereas in like Spider-Man 3, they have three different villains going on
Yeah.
all at once.
And which breaks up the flow, but I still feel like in Iron Man, it feels like two almost completely different movies. Not that's I'm obviously exaggerating that a little bit, but I just feel that once we get Ironmonger introduced, I was really tired.
The
I
tone does change pretty
it takes
drastically.
a 180. Um
Yeah.
yeah. Um
That's
God, this
partially due
movie
to the fact that
sucks.
goodness. It's partially due to the fact that before that point, before the last act with Ironmonger, uh, there isn't a lot of action in the film.
Yeah, I want to touch on that. There's
There,
not a
there
lot
are
of fight
scenes,
scenes.
like there's the scene where he breaks out of being a hostage in the Mark One suit, and then there's the scene at Galmira where he's fighting the terrorists. But other than that, it's all just flying and like trial and error with the suit. There's not a
Which
lot of us getting used to
yeah,
how the suit
100%.
works in
Yeah.
action.
Yeah, this movie it honestly I think it has like one real fight scene. Other than that, it's just a bunch of action set pieces. And the one fight scene that I feel like it does have is just not a very good one. The action in this movie just isn't good, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in general, but for this movie, I feel it hurts it. You're right, we don't get to see a lot of this suit in real action with fighting. Um, yeah,
To be fair, so something that I want to focus on with what I'm talking about. So just because like the action and stuff wasn't necessarily as like tightly, um, just like, it wasn't very well done. I guess you could say it does focus a lot on the story
it
in a
does.
very good way. Whereas, um,
Fight scenes I feel are
uh,
very important
uh,
to superhero movies though because it's a good way to show their powers or the way they work in general because the majority of superheroes will be fighting villains and yeah, I'm not an action guy. I'll say that I am not an action guy. But with this movie barely having any of that, I feel like with the Ironmonger suit, not Ironmonger, the Ironmonger fight, I just that being again, it's just it didn't grab me as much as I would hope. As cool as the suit looks, like we don't even get to see how the Ironmonger suit works. Really, like we just see it has. We don't get to see the Ironmonger suit in real action. We get to see some of its abilities, but not a lot, and I'm just not a fan of that, which is a shame because again, it looks so cool.
so so like I was saying, so it focuses a lot on story, and that's especially considering it was trying to set up something much bigger.
Yeah,
Um, but so immediately, so really the big tonal shifts in this movie not tonal shifts. The character arc for Tony Stark. His arc really in this movie sort of ends at the beginning of Act Two.
Yeah.
There isn't much after that, so he's really kind of a static character after that because what
His
happens is
arc,
that the
you could
first
even
act,
say his arc doesn't really react to robot Jeff Bridges.
oh, it's flying. Okay, so basically what happens is that um, he at the beginning of the movie he is a cocky, uncaring human being. Like I said
Mhm.
earlier, peace makes him out of a job. He would rather have war than peace just to be rich. But after he's kidnapped by the terrorists and he spends so much time with Yinsen, learning about how his life was destroyed and how his family was affected, and especially considering they were using Tony Stark's technology, terrorists were. Um, makes Tony change from this very uncaring uh, person who just wants to be famous and have money to what ends up being who he is for the rest of the MCU up until Endgame, where virtually
Hey,
he's just
nope,
like a
nope.
very.
We're not talking about that.
I
Sorry,
know,
mate.
I know. What I'm saying is that he starts like this, and it sort of continues as he's sort of like a passionate workaholic in a way.
Yeah.
He is obsessed with, like he says in the film, the next mission, making people safe.
Hmm. Yeah.
Of course, continue to evolve throughout the series.
Yeah. I know. I agree with that. 100%. This like overall, this movie, I liked this movie. All right. I didn't. I liked it. I liked it a lot. It's one of my more favorite MC movies. Not anywhere near my. Not anywhere. I don't think it'll be anywhere near the top 10. But I feel like it's. We should. I'm giving it credit, especially since it did establish the MCU and it did a really good job of establishing that.
It did establish the MCU, but it also. So another thing that it did was that an important thing to point out with Iron Man just is how genuinely looking back at other superhero films at the time and comic book films in general, it was extremely different. It was very unfamiliar territory for the audience. They expected that what they were going to get was actually amounts to a robot man, but it's kind of like the X-Men or Spider-Man,
Yeah.
where it exists in the modern world, but it's not really going to attach itself to that. It's just going to be like sort of an alternate reality.
Yeah.
But so immediately, what it does as soon as like the opening shot, it immediately establishes the MCU and Iron Man as being part of our world. It established itself as being involved in the political conflicts of the time with the war on terrorism in the Middle East.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very of the time movie. I do like the modern adaptations they make for again with the setting. The setting, like the characters are more. I feel a lot more modern. Like overall, the movie does it feels modern. And I like that. I like that a lot. It's just
And it does, um, like you were saying, like Iron Man wasn't a popular character back then.
feels
Another
far
good
from that.
another good thing to point out is that Marvel Comics, just in general, the IP, was not necessarily very well liked at the time, outside of Spider-Man.
100%.
Like
Yeah.
Spider-Man was 100% the most popular character. Like
Also,
you
my
also have like,
favorite superhero. I love Spider Man.
you also have like the X-Men and Fantastic Four. But Marvel was generally, compared to their counterparts at DC, were generally seen as silly and campy and cheesy.
Yeah. Which
Like one of
for
their main
me, I do like a
superheroes.
lot. I like that campy and cheesy aspect. I'm a Marvel kid more than DC. I do appreciate the more campy, more funny, more goofy aspect of Marvel comics. That's me though. I know DC comics have it. I do like DC comics. I do read DC comics. I do. I have read both. But I just primarily grew up with Marvel.
And so it's interesting to see that almost like that sort of audience shift. Like at the time, Batman films were really what was going on. Like The Dark
Mm-hmm.
Knight was going to release. I think it was April, and then three months later, The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the
And Batman Begins was
most
2005.
Yeah, exactly. And so Iron Man released at a time where Batman was becoming this not so campy thing with like the Joel Schumacher adaptations,
Mm-hmm.
at credit card, ching. Um, and so it's interesting to see how both of these series turned from both of these IPs turned from being not so realistic and campy to grounding themselves in the real world,
Mm-hmm. And while still
and
keeping the
trying to
humor
take them
intact. This
exactly.
movie has some genuinely funny moments.
Yeah.
It's not one of it's not one of the more humorous MC movies, but the jokes that are there, they landed to me. They landed for me.
Yeah. And it is. Shoot, what was I gonna say?
Something about campiness.
Well, I remember. Yeah, it was sort of like that. So it is cool to see that while it does take itself seriously, a lot of the time, it does make time for that very campy, very comic book imagery. Like when he walks out of the terrorist camp in the giant suit, the camera just pauses on him in this giant, really cool robot suit. And like when he's flying in the air, he just stops there for half a second, so the
Yeah.
camera can pan around. Bad thing for a superhero movie, the audience wants to see those childish, I want to look cool moments.
100%. I I feel like this movie has aged a lot better than I expected. I expected it to going in. I expected to just slog through this movie, and while there were sluggish points, Act 3 mainly, overall, I was in. I was in. I totally expected to watch it in like 2 sittings, but no, I was able to watch it in one. And that's saying a lot for me, who has a lot of trouble watching movies sometimes. I was able to watch this movie all the way through. Without like I took a bathroom break, but that's because I'm a human. So overall, like surprisingly good. Um,
Yeah.
I
personally
recently
think
watched all the X-Men movies, and holy cow, did those not age well? But this movie, it did. Not all the X-Men movies. I only watched the first 3, but they did not they did not age well at all. But Iron Man, I feel like it does hold up to this day and age. It is a movie that is worth watching nowadays, even with all the other MCU movies out. This movie still has its place in the MCU, which is very commendable.
yeah. Um, and of course, like 23 films on, with more to come.
Yep.
I think personally, at the end of this ranking, I don't, like you said earlier, I don't think it's going to make it into like the top, but it is a solid movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it
100%.
may be like I think maybe, and I guess we'll see later on. I think it'll maybe be around like 15 or
Yeah,
something like
I
that.
can see that. What about you, Tyler? Where do you think this is going to land? You don't have to give an exact like placing. Tyler?
Yeah, probably like around 15, but I'm thinking a little lower than 15.
Really? Well, what are your thoughts overall with the lower ranking? We'll lower your proposed ranking. Like, not that we're
Probably
ranking right
like
now, but what
16.
what are your thoughts overall on this movie?
Me?
Yes.
It's a solid movie, you know. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. Not amazing. I'm not like, oh my god, this movie's so good.
Yeah,
It's not like
I
that.
didn't expect anything amazing though. I expected not a bad movie, but not a very good movie. But this movie was really good. It wasn't great, but it was really good.
Could have been better.
100%. But I think
It's a very good start.
it is a fantastic start.
Very,
Uh,
very
com-
good foundation.
so for the next segment
And
of the podcast, we have Chilling with the Villains. We are ranking every single MCU villain known to man. So I think he goes at number one. Obadiah Stane.
there's literally no other villain right now.
So are we all in agreement that it's number one?
Number one currently, but only temporarily.
Man, the only thing I think Obadiah Stane is better than is this podcast.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see how it is. See,
Yeah, no, I think at the end of this whole chilling with the villains thing, Obadiah Stane will be far from the top.
oh
He's
no,
probably going to be
100%. He's not gonna be near. But overall, I think he is a decent villain. His fight scene singular isn't very good, but his reactions to Tony in the first bitch of the movie, I like a lot. It's just when he is actually a villain, I'm not a fan of.
yeah.
And bam, that has been Chilling with the Villains.
It will be much longer in
Yeah,
the future when we
100%.
actually have more.
Much longer. I have plans for Chilling with the Villains. Not gonna reveal those right now, but this segment I'm gonna have fun with. So now we go to ranking. Iron Man, 2008. I think it goes to number one.
Again, there's nothing else right now. But like I said earlier, I think it's probably going to be around 15.
Yeah, no, same here. I think it's gonna be. I think that's respectable too. I don't have anything else to talk about ranking Iron Man. So yeah, our current MCU ranking, is number one, Iron Man.
And nothing else. Because right
Yeah.
now in our heads, there is no other MCU movie. It's just Iron Man.
So the future. So like, does anyone else have anything to add for Iron Man?
I mean, not really. I talked about everything I wrote down.
Yeah, that Black Sabbath ending was pretty fucking cool.
The credit scene was cool. I didn't like the music choice, but the cut to credits I liked a lot. So next week, I'm actually kind of excited for it because it's Incredible Hulk, and I actually have never seen Incredible Hulk. Like I said, the only MCU movie that I haven't seen was Incredible Hulk. Did I see Incredible Hulk? Yeah, I guess. Incredible Hulk.
No.
But upon further inspection, there are a couple that I haven't seen. Maybe the only one that comes to mind is Avengers: Age of Ultron, which I have seen, but I fell asleep watching that movie. I kid you not. So yeah. But next week will be the Incredible Hulk. I've never seen it before.
Incredible Hulk.
What should I be expecting, guys?
Expecting it's better than Ang Lee's Hulk, but that is saying nothing much.
Oh boy.
Edward Norton is not a bad actor. I think he's a very wonderful actor. It's not a very good movie.
I don't.
But I'm excited to talk about it.
Okay, so yeah, next week, Incredible Hulk. that I think covers everything. Anyone else have any final thoughts?
I'm good.
No.
Where can we find you guys?
Again,
Just in the trash can outside Panda Express. You know, you just go behind, you knock on the trash can, you say the magic words, and I'll pop out.
Okay. Well,
So Ben, where can we find you on the internet?
Again,
At Stylish2418 on the Instagram. Ben, this is my time to sign. You shut up.
Okay, Tyler, where can we find you on the internet?
It's at Stylish2418 on Instagram. I make art and stuff.
Okay, check him out. I'll put that in the description. On YouTube, it'll be in the description, and on like SoundCloud, it'll be also it'll be on the description of wherever you find this. Ben,
again,
where can we find you?
I have 0 public accounts currently.
But you do have a phone number. Your phone number.
I do have a phone number that will not be shared.
Repeat after me, guys. No, I'm kidding. For me,
757.
It's not my phone number. But whoever's phone number that is, you should probably edit it out.
Yeah, I
I don't know whose number that is. I just said a number.
Yeah, that's so me. You can obviously on wherever here on the podcast, wherever you find it here. Like I'm on SoundCloud, where I have music too. I did a rap album as a joke, but I legitimately make music. New album Shine is coming in 2 months or whatever. Podbean, you can find this podcast on YouTube. I have a channel nearest here. This awesome podcast is right here. I'm working on Spotify, so I'll get back with you guys. I still haven't heard yet, but I still haven't heard back yet from Spotify, but I'm working on it. So yeah, you just search the Detective Prince 46 on any social media, and you'll find me. I'm everywhere. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. This has been HMR, the Homebrew Movie Ret News, a Marvelous retrospective.
Goodbye, gamers.
Thank you guys for listening, and have a marvelous day.